Is this one of the few sort of pieces of work you ever do where sunscreen is an absolute vital piece of kit?
Absolutely vital.
100%, 50-50, factor 50.
And it's the only gig where they make you sunbathe too, because when we get there, we all have to wear paper pants and wear spray tanned. Max does that without the paper pants.
I like to.
Or if you're Max, you just go
paper
buff.
pants out.
And then we have
more information than they need.
It's
I
true.
agree, John. I think that's outrageous.
And then we have to tan. We have to top the tan up until we don't need the spray tan.
Because of the budget, they don't send us out early to sunbathe. They just spray tan us. We thought maybe we'd be there 2 weeks early.
Although your face was quite a picture on the last one when Max was wearing his sock and I was in my pants and you just walked in.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
It was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Well, the sock is a wonderful component of the spray tan, and I had a Manchester United football sock, which obviously just covered the work, and you get the all-over gear, which is great.
It wasn't a Red Hot Chili Peppers kind of...
No. Just the full Man United sock. The away sock, actually, black with a little red stripe.
If you'd been out in the sun too long, that might have
That's how it might have ended
I've never
up.
had me out, actually, in the sun, to be honest.
The characters are interesting in that they're stripping away over the series. They've stripped away kind of how we first meet them. Are they actually regressing back to how they were when they were sort of teenagers, early 20s, and how they kind of were with one another when they were that age?
No, I don't think they're regressing. They're getting old. I mean, in this one, in the first episode, it fast forwards 2 years, and we're all split up. We haven't seen each other for years. So it takes a very different slant, this series, than the other two.
It's quite nice, actually, also with this series that we all have sort of time within our own little storylines as well. So we're split up, which I think is a nice little sort of thing for the audience. What are you laughing at?
Mark's tickling me. No, that is good because you're wanting to see them, the core group together again, and hopefully. Oh, sorry, I'm jet lagged.
It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
I've never done a lads' holiday.
No.
This is the closest I've ever done to a lads' holiday.
I did one in 85 to Mallorca, and funnily enough, when we did
That's
what we do. I know. And I went into this restaurant. There was a talent competition, and I did, I think, Bruce Forsyth impressions. And
do it now.
Do it now, man.
Oh no, I've just put that in there, haven't I? It's so wonderful to be here. And I won a meal every night for two. So me and my brother had food in there every night for 7 days, which was so wonderful. And we're so delighted to see you here on Strictly Phil. I must say, Tess looks wonderful.
What's this one for? What's this for?
MSN.
I think Britain's Got Talent at this rate. I think.
I can't believe you're doing Bros
Finside. He's a Swedish entrepreneur. It's so wonderful to be here. Yeah. Sorry, brother.
We're just nervous.
We're just nervous.
We haven't done this before.
No, I was going to ask as well. Working together, is it quite an intense process having four people pretty much on camera with each other for 80-90% of the time?
Well, no, it's a lot easier, I think. It's been fun. Sorry, Mark. Interrupting you.
I did have an answer.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I forgot what I was going to say now. You've put me off. No, it's a lot easier because usually we do shows where one of us has got to carry the show. You know, it's all on one person. But there's four of us in this, so it's spread out.
Spread the load.
So we all go down together.
We spread the load.
We're spreading the load. I tell you what was the hardest.
Mark always has a lot of dialogue, though.
We're very supportive of each other. So, like when if it's somebody's doing their close-up, we're all very attentive. We're attentive. But the hardest for me, the hardest scene. Phil, I'm talking. The hardest scene was the first time we all did a scene together in series 1, and suddenly it was like a bit of a pressure because you didn't want to drop the ball because you knew the other three were such fantastic actors that you didn't want to be rubbish.
I remember that day, actually. John and I had a bit of a thing in the scene where we're face to face, barneying with each other full on. And I think it might have been the first day. And I think I might have said to John, that was awesome, you know. And then I think the boys, slowly that week, we understood that helping each other or complement each other was the best way forward. And immediately, because it could have been a recipe for disaster, because actors, you know, it's a volatile game. You do have to, by default, have a bit of an ego. And it could have been a disaster, but it ended up being beautiful. And we're all incredibly close friends, you know, which is great.
I've always said it's a bit like being in a band. You know, you go off and do your solo projects, and then you come back and we do a series of this, and it's like getting back into the groove.